Hi, good evening, everyone. Hi, Laksh. Hello, Sneha. So, how is everyone? Okay. So, I hope I'm audible now. Please confirm that the screen is visible to everyone. Wonderful. Right. So before we start with the session, I want to understand, now that we have only a couple of weeks in our hands, how's the preparation? What are the pain points that you have, and what are the challenges? Of course, we'll be solving the previous year paper today, but I still want to understand what are your areas where you're facing the challenge, so that I can answer to those questions as well. Yes, everyone, please be vocal about your problems. Snigdha, what are the challenges? Are there any challenges in the verbal area? Like I'll do one thing. I'll jot down the topics that you guys have in your verbal section, so you can see that okay, which area is prepared, which is not, and whatever time is left with us, what can we do about it? So I will just jot down the topics. Just give me a second. Uh, so for example, one second. Parajumbles is confusing sometimes. Is that because of theta? Era? Is it because of theta? Okay. All right. So let's start with the vocab-based questions. I'll just jotting down the areas that we have to see and see which area we still need to work on, because for everyone that area is going to be a little different, right? So somebody might be prepared for reading comprehension while the other person is still struggling with grammar part. So I'll just jot down the topics for you. So for example, we have topics like synonyms, then antonyms. Then you have fill in the blank questions. You have word usage questions. And you have foreign words. Right? So these are your vocabulary based questions. I'm writing the main areas that we need to work here. Similarly, when we talk about, the grammar part. So grammar part in the previous year questions, if you have solved. So what is the current status of previous year question solving? Have you solved the previous year questions? Please respond, everyone. Saryu, Nirmit, Shreya, what is the status of previous year question solving? How many papers have you solved? 2020, Hitansha solved. Ida has solved 2 papers. How about Tanush? Snigdha, what is your status? Tried it. Okay. All right. So we have not covered the previous year paper. So guys, see, one thing that I really want to, stress here is that one second, I'll just put my phone on mute. Yes. One thing that I really want to stress here is that now the time is such where I need to see the previous year questions, right? So if you have not solved your previous year papers, please have a look at them. Look at all your mocks, correct? So you have so much of material, like you have your previous year papers, you have your concept books, your practice books. My suggestion is that you go with your mocks, all the 15 mocks and the previous year papers first. Now, as we were talking about grammar, so grammar, we have topics like pronouns. Then you have topic subject verb agreement. Then you have idioms and phrases. Right? Then you also have topics of modifiers, prepositions. So have a look at these topics in your My MS section. You do have, learn section where you'll get the videos as well. So if you're feeling that, still some concept is missing, you can go and watch that video and acquire that concept. Otherwise, just go on and solve the questions from your MyIMS and the material and the hard copies that you have. Correct? Now, reading comprehension, tell me, is everyone clear with the inference question? What do we mean by inference, by the way? What is the meaning of inference? You can always unmute and speak if you prefer it that way. Reading between the lines. Okay. All right. Ma'am, this should be taken up at the end. Okay. All right. So let's do one thing. 1 second. You can always unmute and speak if you prefer it that way. Reading between the lines. Okay. All right. Ma'am, this should be taken up at the end. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's start solving. So let's do one thing. One second. Guys, I'm able to hear my voice. I'll just see what is happening. Just 1 second. Yes, guys. Let's see. So today what we are going to do is I'm going to take you through the entire VA section of our paper. Now, before that, could you guys tell me if you all are clear with the paper pattern? Right. For example, how many questions of verbal do we have in this year's exam? How many questions are you going to encounter?
40.
Let's see. 40
So
today
what
we are
going to do is I'm going to take you through
guys,
the
I'm again
entire
listening to
VA
my voice,
section
some
of
technical
our
issue.
paper.
Just bear with me.
Now, before that, could you guys tell me if you
Guys, just give me 1 minute. There's some technical issue. Let me see. Yes. Yes, let me just see if the voice is getting repeated again. No, it's not. I'm not listening. Okay. So, yes, how many questions you told me? 40 questions. Is it 40 questions, guys, or is it 45 questions? So 45 questions. Very good, Jadit. And how much time do we have? We have 40 minutes to solve these 45 questions. Now, what is the marking scheme here? So +4. So if you look at the last year paper pattern, correct. So it was +4 and -1 is the negative marking. Correct. Now, this year, the number of questions, we are not yet, confirmed. But if you look at the previous year pattern, then of course it was 45 and 40 minutes is fixed. So we don't know the actual number of questions that we are going to get. But let's hope that, or let's expect that it's going to be somewhere 40 to 45 like the last year. Correct. Now let's start with the solving of 2020 paper. So before I start, I'll give you a brief of what 2020 paper had, right? So those who have solved it, they already know that there was a passage. Then there were some questions based on parajumble. There were some more questions of, idioms and phrases, some questions based on fill in the blanks, right? And some questions of word usage, plus the grammatically correct and the incorrect sentence. So you have to identify and you have to replace the underlined part with the grammatically correct format. So we'll start with the questions straight away now. 1 second. Jaditya, we can do the revision of critical reasoning after the paper solving. Jaditya, we can, of course, arrange for one session of that if that's the challenging area. But not in this session. I'll definitely speak to the team and we will arrange a session for that, right? Slideshow. Guys, are you able to see the screen? Is everyone able to see the screen? Others? Can we see the screen? Okay. One second. Some show one second. Yes, guys. Now let's look at the first passage that we have. So this first passage, let's look at the questions also, that what are the questions. But before we go ahead, I want you to give it a read. आप लोग एक बार reading भी कर लीजिए, give it a read. And once you're done, write down and we'll go ahead. So John Moore, Earth, Planet, Universe, these words were written on the inside cover of the notebook from which the contents of this volume have been taken. They reflect the mood in which the late author and explorer undertook his 1,000-mile walk to the Gulf of Mexico a half-century ago. No less does this refreshingly cosmopolitan address, which might have startled any finder of the book, reveal the temper and the comprehensiveness of Mr. Moore's mind. He never was and never could be a parochial student of nature. Even at the early age of 29, his eager interest in every aspect of natural world had made him a citizen of the universe. On these expeditions, he had disciplined himself to endure the hardships, for his notebooks disclose the fact that he often went hungry and slept in the woods on the open prairies with no cover except the clothes he wore. Oftentimes, he writes in some unpublished biographical note, I had to sleep out without blankets and also without supper or breakfast. But usually, I had no great difficulty in finding a loaf of bread in the widely scattered clearings from the farmers. With one of these big backwood loaves, I was able to wander. I was able to wander I was able to wander many a long wild mile, free as the wind in the glorious forest and bogs, gathering planets and feeding on God's abounding inexhaustible spiritual beauty bread. Only once in my long Canada wanderings was the deep peace of wilderness savagely broken. It happened in the maple woods about midnight when I was cold and my fire was low, and I was awakened by the awfully dismal howling of wolves and got up in the haste to replenish the fire. Had it not been for the accidental injury to his right eye in the month of March 1867, he probably would have started somewhat earlier than he did. In a letter written to Indianapolis friend on the day after the accident, he refers mournfully to the interruption of a long cherished plan. For weeks, he writes, I have daily consulted maps in locating the route to the southern states, the Western Indies, South America, Europe, and a botanical journey studied for years. And so many minds have long been in a glow with visions of the glories of a tropical flora. But alas, I am half blind. My right eye, trained to minute analysis, is lost, and I have scarce heart to open the other. The injury to his eye proved to be less serious than he had first supposed. In June, he was writing to a friend, I have been reading and botanizing for some weeks and find that for such work, I am not very much disabled. In an account written after the excursion, he says, I was eager to see Illinois prairies on my way home. So we went to Decatur near the center of the state, then north to Portgate by Rockford and Jennesville. I botanized 1 week on the prairie about 7 miles southwest of Pecatonica. To me, all plants are more precious than before. My poor eye is not better nor worse. A cloud is over it, but in gazing over the widest landscape, I am not always sensible of its presence. Now let's look at the questions. Question number 1. So question number 1 says, John Moore, Earth, Planet, Universe. Moore wrote that this in his notebook because he did not have a permanent address. He wanted to be a traveler all his life. Option C, his love for botany went beyond borders, and he wanted to live in the open of all his life. Could you just respond? What is the correct answer according to you? So why was he traveling? Why was he writing? Is it because he never had a permanent address? He wanted to be just a traveler? Or his love for botany went beyond borders? Or he wanted to live in an open all his life? What do you think is the correct answer?
C.
Others? Please be very active. I want it to be an interactive session. You guys can also respond. So Ira thinks it is C. Viral also thinks C. He did not have a permanent address. Okay. Hitansh says it's B. He wanted to be a traveler. But Hitansh, there's so much of, reference of botany, and he botanized and he started writing, and he, went to several places. He consulted maps, right? And even when you read this part, so where it says, see, that the plant, to me, all the plants are more, precious now. So that means that he is very passionate about, studying about plants and writing about them, botanizing about them. So the correct answer to this question is option C, right? Let's see. One second, right? Okay, let's take a look at the next question. What do you think about this? So, which of these did John Moore have no great difficulty in doing? Finding food among farmers. That's Hitansh's answer. Shreya also says, okay, let's see. There was something mentioned about farmers. Let's go back and see what they have written. Now, if you read this particular line here, yeah. So the passage says that, but usually I had no difficulty in finding a loaf of bread in the widely scattered clearings of the farmers. So does that mean that I'm among the farmers, or does that mean that in the clearings of the farmers, I was able to find food? So for example, he said, I had to sleep out without blankets, also without supper or breakfast. But usually I had no great difficulty in finding loaf of the bread. So the main point here is that he had the difficulty in sleeping, but when it comes to finding food, then it was not a challenge. Let's see. Let's go ahead. So the question, let's understand what the question is asking us. So the question is asking us that which of these was not a difficult task for him? So A or B, what do you think? Finding food was not the difficulty, or eating regularly was not the difficulty?
A.
But finding food or eating regularly, because if you look at it that way, so what happens here is, see, what he's saying is that I had no great difficulty in finding food. I had difficulty in sleeping. So the word regularly has to be focused here, no? That means that I was able to find food on an everyday basis. So A and B are very close, right? So correct answer to this question will be option B. So finding food is a different thing. Finding food on an everyday basis is a different thing altogether, right? Okay. Now let's go ahead and see question number 3. Right. Question number, sorry. I displayed the answer. Okay, let's discuss it. How did the experience with nature affect John Moore? So correct answer here is that he felt spiritually, I'll just take you to the passage. He felt spiritually fulfilled. Now, this part is written. All the questions are very direct here. Yes. So here he says that I was able to wander many a long wild mile, free as the wind in the glorious forest and bogs, gathering plants and feeding on God's abounding, inexhaustible spiritual beauty bread. Correct? So he was enjoying his travel, and the effect that he had on himself was that he felt spiritually fulfilled. Let's look at the next question. According to the passage, in what ways was more affected by his injury? Could you mark the answers to this question? How was he affected? Option A says his injured eye healed very slowly. Option B says he could not open his left eye during his exploration. Option C, his eyesight was affected, but he was able to carry on. Option D, he took a long time to consult maps and study them. Is Shani correct? Jharna, correct? What about others? I'll take you to the passage. So let's read about what he has written about the eye part, and we'll see. Yes. You can give it a quick read and find the answer. Had it not been for the accidental injury to his right eye in the month of March 1867, he probably would have started somewhat earlier. And if you read this particular line carefully, so what he says is that the injury to his eye proved to be less serious than he had first supposed. Correct? So he definitely had the injury in the eye, but it was less serious than what he thought.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, can you actually go back to the paragraph? I have doubt in question number 2 because I think it's going to be A.
Okay. 1 second. Let me just finish this question, then I'll take you to question number 2. Does that work?
Sure, ma'am.
Sure. Yes. All right. So question number 4 we were catering to, and question number 4, according to the passage, in what way is more affected by his injury? So the correct answer to this question is option C, that his eyesight was affected, but he was able to carry on. So that's the correct answer here. Let's look at the next question. Oh, sorry, I have to take you to question number 2. 1 second later. Yes. You want me to take you to the passage? Yes. What's your doubt?
Yes, ma'am. Over here it is in like second paragraph, second right is written that but usually I had no great difficulty in finding a loaf of bread. So shouldn't it be A?
See, that's fine. What he says is, see, if we notice the, oftentimes, so oftentimes means it's very close to regularly, right? So what he is writing is you're missing out on oftentimes here. Oftentimes he writes in some unpublished biographies, I had to sleep out without blankets and also without supper or breakfast, but usually I had no great difficulty in finding a loaf of bread in the widely scattered clearings of the farmers. So oftentimes is synonyms of regularly, correct? So A and B are very close if you look at it that way. But what is the question exactly asking us? Question is asking us great difficulty in doing what? So finding food among the farmers or eating regularly every day. So what is the meaning? So it's kind of an inference, right? That what is he actually trying to say? That he was able to just find it or eat regularly. Though the word finding food is written, but what do we mean by it here?
Okay, ma'am, got it.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next question. Question number 5. Let me clear the screen for you. Yes. When Moore said that he botanized, he meant that he, option A, studied plants and made notes on them, studied plants in their natural habitat, studied plants during his exploration, or studied plants and classified them. If you go by elimination, see, sometimes it's very important that we go by elimination also. So instead of looking at the right answer, can you eliminate some options for me? Like these are definitely not going to be the answers. Very quick eliminations. So Neha thinks it's D. Okay. Now there are 2 words. See, natural habitat, of course, and exploration. We need to keep it because we know that he was traveling. Correct. So when I look at the word exploration, I somewhere know that yes, he was traveling, that therefore I am not really eliminating it. But when it comes to classifying, did we come across any word which is related to classified? Not maybe, it's not the exact word classified being used there, maybe a synonym or something written anywhere close to what defines classification. Correct. Studied plants and made note on them. Now, this is very generic because, yes, he did study plant and he wrote about them. But what is important here? What do we mean by the word botanized? Now, whenever we have a word botanized or any particular word is given to us in a question, what happens here is I go back to the passage, I look for where that word is written, and I need to read the peripheral area, the area closer to botanized extremely carefully. So let's go back and let's look up for the word botanized. I want everyone to do a quick skimming and scanning and find where the word botanized is written. Yes. Can you locate the word botanized? I'm waiting for your answers in the chat box. Don't read the passage, try to scan, look for the word botanized. If you find it here, if not, then just write no and we'll go ahead on the next slide. Krishna says there's no word botanized here. Okay. Let's wait. Not here. Okay. So, see, what happens when they ask you such a question is that we as students, right, have a habit, or, we tend to mark the answer based on our memory. It's a very simple question, but if I rely just on my memory, it may go wrong, and this should not happen on the day of the exam. Take some time, go back, scan quickly, and then look for the answer. Yes. Can you find the word botanized here? Yes, we have the word botanized here. Now let's see where is it appearing. So, first 4-5 lines, it's not here. Here, the first time it appears is, I have been reading and botanizing for some weeks and find that for such work, I'm not very much disabled. Correct? Is there anywhere else that he has written botanized? Yes, so Manpuli, I have maps, locating routes, the overall lies timeline, train menu details. Yep. Oh. Correct. And botanized for the week is also written here. I botanized 1 week on the prairie about 7 miles southwest to Pecatonica. Now here, see, botanizing and the word botanized. Now, what is my question about? My question was about the word botanized. So I botanized 1 week on the prairie about 7 miles southwest of Pecatonica. So if now I go back to question, so yes, specifically if we read this particular statement carefully, what do you think our answers would be? Yes. Now, D was already eliminated. Now, what do you think answer should be, B or C? No, but when he is mentioning that 7 miles from this and that, does that give a description of natural habitat, or does that defines that I was exploring? So I went south, 7 miles here, 7 miles there. You correct. So the correct answer will not be natural habitat. Correct answer will be that he was exploring things while he was traveling, right? So the words can be very close, they can be confusing. So please make sure that you read them very, very carefully. Okay. Which of the following is not true? Waiting for your answers. Which of the following is not true? Option A, John Moore explored several new places even on his way home. There was a cloud over the landscape he traveled. Option C, he was committed to being a botanist more than ever. And he recorded his adventure in his notebook. So D is clearly given. He was committed to being botanist more than ever. So this line where he says that, the plants have become more precious to me now. If we look at this particular area, where he says that to me, all the plants are more precious than before. Correct? And if we go little initial line, so he says that he never was and never could be a ferocious student of nature. Even at the early age of 29, his eager interest in every aspect of natural world had made him a citizen of the universe. So that means that he was definitely traveling, and he always liked to be, or he was more committed after this particular travel to become a botanist. So that is also true. He was writing about his adventure in the notebooks. That's very evident with whatever we have read so far. So the one thing that is not true is definitely there was a cloud over the landscape he traveled. So correct answer to this question will be option B. That's right. But if I ask you a separate question, that if the cloud was not there on the landscape that he traveled, there's a mention of the word cloud. Now, what was the cloud actually on? The cloud word has been used in the passage. So, referring to what? His right eye was clouded. Very good, Shreya. That's the correct answer. So the passage says that his right eye was clouded and therefore he found difficulty. Correct. All right. And I also want to ask you the meaning of certain words here, because sometimes, they ask you what is the meaning of this word in the passage. So there are a couple of words that I definitely want to take up. So for example, what do we understand by cosmopolitan? What is the meaning of cosmopolitan? Hitansh, cosmopolitan, see, cosmo is a synonym of universe, right? So when you say cosmopolitan, so cosmopolitan means that a person, if I'm using it in reference to a person, right? So what it means is a person who's equally comfortable and who has traveled, a lot, and he's equally comfortable with all the types of cultures, all the types of cities, countries. So that is known as a cosmopolitan experience of different parts of the world. That's true. Correct. What do we mean by expeditions? There's a word expedition here. What do we mean by this word? On these journeys, adventure, travel. Correct. Right. Give a quick look if there's any other word. What do we mean by abounding? Abounding is plentiful. That any couple of abundant, abounding, right? Plethora of something, inexhaustible, super flooded. Okay, right. Any other word that you want me to take up? Scan quickly. Excursion, I'm assuming that everyone knows what excursion is because you are taken to excursions from your school. All right. Now let's go back to question number. All right, question number 7. Now, question says, complete the following sentences by choosing the appropriate word or phrase from the options given below. It came as a shock to me that my friend had lost the dash he had built carefully over the years when in a moment of madness, he lent it out to his neighbor. So we have to fill the blank with the correct or the appropriate idiom here. Now, idiom-based questions are, cash cow questions because you can attempt these questions in literally less than 10 seconds, provided that we already have the knowledge of idioms, right? So do a thorough practice of idioms also. There are idiom-based exercises on your MyIMS. Go and attempt those exercises. They are available in your books as well. Yes, so looking at this particular question, it came to me as a shock that my friend has lost the. So the correct idiom here is you lose the nest egg. Now, what do we mean by nest egg? Can anyone tell me the meaning of nest egg? What do we mean by it?
It is like a saving which is put aside for like a specific purpose or to do something.
So nest egg is basically your saving, right? Now a very close, idiom that I want to discuss, which is very close to nest egg is to make hay while the sun shines. Make hay while the sun shines. What do we mean by this? I'll give you an example. So when, our Prime Minister has requested, or our Prime Minister has often mentioned that people who are in the age group of 25 to 50 should work hard and make hay while the sun shines. What does that mean? So make hay, because see, while the sun shines, so it is symbolic of that, you're full of energy and you are in your productive years, you can do a lot of work, right? So 25 to 50 is the age group where, you can literally hustle. So make haste that, you make the most of it, try to save as much as you can, try to build things as much as you can, right? Okay. Let's go to the next question. Sorry, skip the explanation. There's some problem with the explanation here. Yes, next. During the debate, when the minister appeared to be vague is unclear, about his stand on the controversial energy project, his opponent asked him to dash and declare outright if the government would go ahead with the project or not. I am getting the answers. Is Shani correct? Ira, correct. Ritesh, correct. Nikhil, absolutely right. So what is the question saying? Question is saying that minister was unclear about his stand on a particular or controversial project. So the opponent is asking him to, if I try to fill the blank with a simple word, see here, if we know the answer, which is very good. But if we get stuck somewhere, so it is always better that, we try to substitute the blank with a very layman, very simple word before we actually go to the answer or look at the right answer. So the minister was not, he was being diplomatic. He was trying to, play games here. But the opponent came out and he said that, what, just clear it out that whether you want to go ahead with the project or not. So what he wants is a clear-cut answer. So the idiomatic synonym to clear-cut answer is cut to the chase. So that is come straight to the point. That's the correct answer to this question. Right. Okay. All right. Next question. It is irritating when co-workers dismiss your ideas as worthless and later present those ideas as their own. They just want to So somebody's saying that your idea is bad, and then behind your back they're just going and they're doing what? They are selling that idea as their own. So they're basically doing what? They're kind of stealing from you. But what are they stealing? Are they stealing your credit, stealing your crown, stealing your thunder, stealing your gloating? So they are actually stealing. The correct answer here is they steal your thunder. So that is trying to steal somebody's good day, trying to steal, somebody's creativity, somebody's. Yes, this is just idiom like vocabulary. We'll have to learn it, right? So like vocabulary words have certain meanings, the idioms have some meanings, and we need to learn about them. So the correct answer to this question is steal your thunder, option C. Okay. All right, next question. Despite statistics to prove that there was a slowdown in the economy of the country, the professor was dash about it. So despite, first of all, tell me, is despite a contrast conjunction, yes or no? Does it try to bring out a contrast? Yes, despite brings out a contrast. So the question or the statement is saying that statistics were there which are proving that the economy is in slowdown. The professor was dash about it. So if the statistics are proving something and there's a contrast word, so the professor is agreeing to that slowdown or disagreeing? So in a simple word, professor is disagreeing that no, there's no slowdown, right? Now, if I look at the disagree word and then I look up for the synonym. So the synonym or the closest option that we have is that there were statistics. Then also, so that is despite that, the professor was in denial about it. Correct? Right. Okay. Before the start of the meeting, I am dash on the latest development. Chana, correct? Ira, correct? Ishani, correct? Aditya, correct? So before the meeting starts, I'm going to bring you up to speed. So that is, I'm going to share that very quickly with you. So when somebody brings you up to speed, and there's a phrasal verb for this also. So for example, let's say that, there is a match that has already started. Correct? And Jaditya, I'll just explain it to you. So let's say that the match has already started, right? Or there's a particular show or a movie that has started and you have reached late. So what you can say is, or there's a meeting which, you're late to. So you can say that, I will request my colleague to fill me in. So when somebody fills you in, so basically they are sharing the details with you, the ones that you have missed, right? Now, Aditya's question is that why not first? So before the start of the meeting, I'm taking you through on the latest development. So I'm taking you through on the latest development. It sounds about odd, right? Because there's taking you through and then there's on. Going to bring you up to speed on the latest development. So going to bring you up to speed is so that you are at par with it. Correct? Next question. After the unearthing of the relics at the archaeological site, the historian was asked to dash the significance of the discovery. So you throw the light on something, you shed the meaning on something, you turn the light on it or focus meaning on it. Super easy question here. After the unearthing of relics at the archaeological sites, the historian was asked to throw the light on the subject. Correct. Absolutely right here. Right. Now, before we go ahead with the next question type, what I also want is, can you guys, come up with some more idioms? Like, can you tell me some idioms from the top of your head? You can just type them in the chat box, so you can unmute and speak as well. There's a throw the light Kushagra. So see, B is saying shed meaning on, correct? So the correct is you shed light on something or you throw light on something. So because B is saying shed meaning on, therefore we eliminated it. Had it been throw the light on something or shed the light on something, either of them would have been correct. Correct? So yes, Nikhil has started responding. Hit the sack, correct. Bury the hatchet, very good. Seal the coffin, a blue-eyed boy. Wonderful. Okay, let me ask a couple of them. What do we mean by apples and oranges? If you could tell me the meaning of apples and oranges. Very quick. So apples and oranges are two essentially or two very different things. Break the ice, very nice. Hit the nail on the head. So I'm reading it through the chat. Okay, all right. What do we mean by when pigs fly? When pigs fly, put it to bed, Alpha.
Something that will never happen.
Correct. So when pigs fly, so that is never going to happen. Right. All right. Shall let's go to the next question. Now the coming few questions are based on your understanding of grammar, correct? And what we have to do is, as you can see it on the screen, there's an underlined part and we need to see if that's correct as it is, or do we need to make some changes there? So the question says the pharmaceutical company hired a consultant to supervise the task force studying lower salaries as to their effects on employees' morale. So when you are, see, some ground rule here when we are attempting a grammar-based question is, number one, what English language says is that we need to keep it crisp, right? Now, what do we mean by this? So what we mean by this is that if I can use 4 words and make a complete sentence, a meaningful sentence which I want to convey, I should not be writing 10 words there. So the first thing is that I need to keep it short, provided that it is still meaningful and the entire meaning is conveyed. That is number one, right? Number two, it should be grammatically parallel also. So let's look at this question and let's discuss this. The correct answer to this question is yes, everyone is right here. The correct answer to this question is option B. Let's see why the others are not the answers here. So the pharmaceutical company has hired a consultant to supervise a task force studying what the effect lower salaries would have one employee's morale. This should be on, okay. On employees' morale, all right. Now, employees. So we are talking about the morale of employees. So we need to have a possessive case here. Like we can see it here. Apostrophe, that's missing here. So option A is eliminated. Option C, B is already answered. Let's discuss the elimination. The pharmaceutical company hired a consultant to supervise a task force for studying what are the effects in employees' morale. So that's the wrong preposition being used here. So the effect is on something and not in something. Option D. studying the effects of employee morale on lower salaries. So here they are changing the cause and effect. So the salaries will have the impact on somebody's motivation, not somebody's motivation will have the impact on salaries in general, right? So therefore the correct answer to this question is option B. Okay, let's go ahead and see what's the next question. Besides offering physiological rewards such as toned muscles, when regular karate is practiced, the body can be turned into dangerous weapon. Okay. So one thing which I really like about this class is that everyone, most of you are answering the question right. But the key to a grammar question is that I need to have the explanation of why the others are wrong. So I would want Jhana, can you explain why you eliminated the other options? Or Ira? Ansh? Anyone can try. We can unmute and explain before I go ahead with my explanation.
Yeah.
Yes. Please
Hello.
tell.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the the sentence starts with besides offering the physiological rewards such as toned muscles.
Hmm.
So we're talking about a subject that is offering this. So
Correct.
followed by the comma should be the subject that we're talking about being karate.
Very good. Very good. The most appropriate explanation, since this is a topic of modifiers and parallelism. Now we should be able to identify this topic very clearly, because most of the times when it is a modifier question, or you have a structure like this, that there's a one comma and then this is the structure of a sentence, like you can see it here. So most of the times this structure you see from the topic modifiers, right? Now, you guys have already studied what a modifier is. Now, if you look at it, so this part is describing the modifier, right? Besides offering physiological rewards, just toned muscles. Now, there's something that is offering this reward, right? And that has to very good. And I'm really impressed with how you explained it. So after the comma, that word, that subject should appear that justifies that who is offering this reward. So if I look at the options, only one option is there that is telling me that, okay, karate. So besides offering physiological rewards such as toned muscles, karate is practiced regularly. Are we all clear with this? Any doubts, anyone? So also remember the structure. For example, let's talk about a bit about how the other grammar questions can be. So for example, if I come across neither and nor in a sentence, like here I told you that if there's a one comma structure in a sentence, then that could be a modifier question. So look at it that way. Now, if you see a neither nor question, can you tell me which area are you going to check? Like, what will be the mistake here? Do I need to check the conjunction? Do I need to check the pronoun? Do I need to check the verb? Anyone? Krishna says we need to check the tenses. Nikhil, tone. Okay. Others?
The pronoun needs to come before the neither part.
Okay. So see, what happens is, for example, if I say neither the manager nor the subordinates are doing his duty properly. Now, what is the error here?
Oh, his duty is the error.
His duty is the error, correct? What part is this? This is pronoun. So majority of the times when you have neither nor, there are two things that we need to check. Number one, I either need to look at the pronoun part, or they could have written is, nor the subordinates is, correct? So I also need to check the verb. Now, the verb and the pronoun should be in agreement with the subject that is written with nor. So don't worry about what is written with neither. You need to look at nor. Nor is saying the subordinates, which is plural. So subordinates are doing their duty properly. Clear? So one thing which we need to do in a neither nor question is I need to look at the verb. I also need to look at the pronoun. And if these two are correct, then Jaditya pointed that we also need to check the parallelism, which is also true. So we need to look at the parallelism also. For example, I'll give you an example of this as well. And this is applicable to either or also. For example, if I say that during the summer break, what is the error in this question? How can we correct this one? No, Nikhil?
The visit should come before.
Correct.
Either.
Now, as I mentioned that whenever it is neither nor or either or, you either need to check for the pronoun or verb, or you need to check the parallelism. Now, if you notice, with either I'm writing visit, which is which part of speech, which is verb. And with or I'm writing Paris, which is which part of speech? Paris is which part of speech? So pronoun, adjective, conjunction, noun. What is this? What is Paris?
Noun.
Paris is a noun, correct? So that means that with either I'm writing a verb and with or I'm writing a noun. So this is not parallel. So what I can do is I can take this visit out and I can write we will visit London. Now it is noun. Or Paris, which is also noun. Clear? So when you're attempting a grammar question, the first thing that should come to your mind is that, okay, what question or which topic is this question about? This will come with practice, right? And we do have time if you start looking at questions this way, that what is the area? So now you know that, okay, whenever it is this structure, most of the times it is modifiers. So I have to look at that way that, okay, what subject should come here? Is this subject being justified for what is given here or not? Are we clear with this? Is there any part that you want me to repeat? I'll be happy to help. Should I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's go ahead and see next question. So the correct answer to this question is option D. Let's look at the next question. So the concept that we did just now, the either or concept, the same thing happens when you have a not only and but also. Now I want you guys to look at the parallelism part here. What we just did with either and or, same thing we have to do here. Take a look. Jayaditya correct, Ira correct. The animal activist has raised awareness not only. Yes. So the correct answer here will be option B. Right? Because see, with not only here we are writing an article, with but also it is a preposition. So it's not parallel. Not only on the plight of the dogs, but also on that of overworked bulls. So on the plight of parallel, let's hold it. The plight of abandoned dogs as well as the overworked bulls. So with not only, we cannot eliminate not only part, the plight of abandoned dogs, but also on. So here now not only is missing, therefore these options have been eliminated. Correct answer is option B. Question number. Okay, now this is a para completion question. So the paragraph given below has a sentence missing, which is indicated by a blank. From the choices given below the paragraph, choose the sentence that seems most logically appropriate to complete the paragraph. Before we go ahead and attempt this question, let's see the concept of it. So number one, I need to read the whole paragraph that's given. And I also need to be extremely careful of the last sentence, last given sentence, because the blank should really connect with the last sentence as well. So Samar, a young man from a village in Tripura, is a social media star who hopes to make it big as a model and an actor. While his minute-long videos are very popular, his series titled Who Wore It Better showcases his creative side. He uses a variety of filters and visual effects to improve his videos. Option A, it is clear that short videos are very popular among the youth than television. So here we are not talking about the main subject is not short videos. Main subject is person, Summer, who wants to be an actor, and in his attempt to do so, he's trying to make the videos, and his videos are popular. They show their creative side. So I need to keep, Summer into picture. While option A is a little generic. Option B, this is one of the ways young men make money on the internet. So was money anywhere the theme of this particular passage? Was money at all the theme that, Summer is doing it with the idea of keeping money in mind? Maybe he's doing it just for fame, because make it big can be make it big in terms of money, make it big can be in terms of fame. It's a separate story that often these two things come together, right? Option C, it is possible to be popular on the internet, although making money here is difficult. Again, addition of an idea which is somewhat contradictory. So the correct answer to this question is option D. This shows how it is possible today for people with limited resources to express their creativity. Correct. So correct answer is option D here. Let's go to next question. When people move from one city to or country to another, the spread of disease may result. People often bring in germs which may not have been there before. These new germs can spread quickly and cause previously unknown diseases. They become ill more easily and could even die. Now here they are saying they become ill. So who is this they referring to? Because this, as I said, that blank should really connect with the sentence prior to it or the sentence that is following it. Now that we have the blank in middle, I need to have this justification of they, and they is used for people, so we need to look at it. Option A, if they had gone back, they would have started an epidemic. So the entire paragraph is not talking about people going back. It is talking about people coming in a different city, in a different country. Again, and this they will remain vague, that who are these people? These are the ones who came in, or these are the ones who are going out? Unclear. Pollution can also lead to the spread of disease. They become ill. So again, who are these they? People who came, or the people who are already the residents, right? Option C, if a germ is completely new to the region, because the entire passage has this theme that new people are coming into the different area, to a new area. So people have no natural protection and they can become more ill, right? Option D also has people. So let's see if option C is the correct answer. Such changes may result in enhancing conditions for people who live in big cities. Enhancing conditions. Now, enhancing conditions is a vague statement, because enhancing is rather, it sounds positive rather than negative. Hence, on the basis of positive and negative, we can also eliminate option D, and the correct answer to this question will be option C. Right. Okay, let's go to the next question. Yes, so these are fill in the blank questions. Now, fill in the blank questions, and when there are multiple blanks, how I approach it, or, even when I was a student, how I used to approach it, I'm going to share it with you. Don't try to go in, or not, not always you're supposed to go in a particular order, or, in a sequential way. Always look for, a very easy entry into the sentence. Of course, you need to read the entire sentence in one go, understand it, but enter in a very, very easy, whatever is the easiest blank that you can fill, enter through that. Try to fill your word, blanks with the layman words, and then look for the options that are closer to them. So coral reefs are one of the most biologically complex. See, I'm defining something, there's a blank, but they're also calling it biologically complex and diverse marine ecosystem on Earth. This ecosystem is one of the paradoxes of biosphere. Now, one very, important symbol that is coming up is colon, right? Now, whenever it is there in English, especially when we are doing a fill in the blank question, treat it as equals to. So this ecosystem is one of the paradoxes of biosphere. How do clear and thus nutrient poor water support such and productive communities? So this ecosystem is a paradox on the biosphere, some kind of paradox. How do clear and thus nutrient poor water support such dash and productive communities? Now, the first one is saying it is complex. I need to have something which is very similar to complex and drivers, right? Now, try to fill the blank. What do you think is the answer? See, they've already used the word diverse here, right? And here also they are saying thus nutrient poor water supports such. So any synonym that is close to diverse. Fruitful is close to diverse, prolific, exuberant, or wealthy. So can we say wealthy communities? We're talking about the coral reef. So wealthy community is not naturally just rich. We are talking in terms of diversity. So the correct answer to this question will be option C here, right? Because it says that they are the deep biologically complex and it is a strange paradox because something that cannot be explained is of course strange. And exuberant is the one word that we have used in terms of diverse. We could have also used prolific, right? So prolific could have also been used, but when it comes to paradoxes, no, because we are already Krishna, we cannot use. So Krishna is asking a question. Krishna is saying that, ma'am, shouldn't it be deepest? Krishna, why it won't be deepest is because we have already used the word most, right? So when I'm making a superlative, I will either say it is most deep or I will say it is the deepest, correct? All right. Let's go ahead. And I'll check that once. I'll get it checked. Krishna, this, right. All right, next question. It is a dash to live in a land without dash. Even when all the technological advancements and economic growth, again, we have a contradiction here. Even with all the technological advancement and economic growth, there are still millions who live in war zones where life every day is filled with. So if I'm living in a war zone, my life will be filled with what? Adventure, terror, episodes, or agony. First, let's eliminate on the basis of the last line. So if somebody is living in a war zone, their life is filled with the adventure. Is the adventure the right word? So not necessary, because I definitely want the adventure of a ride or, adventures that I want to go on, but not because I'm in a war zone, so I enjoy that adventure. That's not exactly what I look for, right? So filled with terror, agony, sounds perfect. Episodes can also be there, but let's see. Now let's look at it. It is a dash to live in a land without dash, even with all the technological advancements. Now see, how will you present the contrast? Because we are already, the theme is also war. So it is a coincidence to live in a land without prejudice. So if it is a coincidence that I'm living in a land of prejudice, without a prejudice, then there's no surprise, right? Even with all the technological advancement, there are still wars. If I am on a land without the prejudice, then there should be no wars, right? Logically, that makes sense that if there's no prejudice, everybody, is sane, logical. They do not have, hatred for black or this or that or that. So then there should be no wars. So this is logically incorrect. This second word does not fit here. It is a lovely to live in a land without pride. I need some word here to justify this lovely. It is a lovely to live in the land without pride makes no sentence, because I need to have some word that can explain what lovely is being used for. So option C is also eliminated. It is a punishment to live in the land without hate. So no sane person will say that it is a punishment, to live in a land without hate. So that is also eliminated. So our correct answer to this question will be option B, which says that it is a privilege to live in a land without bigotry. What do we mean by this term bigotry? Anyone? What is the meaning?
Obstinate attachment to a belief, to a particular belief.
Correct. Having right. And it is more often than not, it is used for, in terms of religion, that, you are religiously, when you are intolerant, then this is the adjective that we generally see being used. All right. So the correct answer to the question is option B. Right. Just 1 second. Yes, I'm so sorry. It's pretty windy, so the doors are. Oops, sorry. One second. Forgot to discuss this question. Yes. So let's discuss this. The ability to shape and guide. So the answer is already there, therefore I'm not taking it up. So the ability to shape and guide a cohesive team in a particular critical is high-tech firms where competitive landscape. Something is very important. It's critical in a high-tech firm where the competitive landscape can shift dramatically in the face of disruptive technologies. Now, disruptive technologies, so there are hints. Something is happening dramatically. Technology is disruptive. So that means that the things are changing, very fast. So when the things are changing, then the landscape or the environment is extremely competitive. And then therefore we went with option B here. Next question. Yes, let's look at this one. Yes, guys, what do you think? Cool-headed and rational. Jo Uncha is a talented and driven anchorman who commands as well as demand respects. After Dash to get elected as new director, he aims to dash to his job as the top news anchor to increase his dash of being elected the next year. So after Dash to get elected as new director, he aims to dash to his job as the top news anchor. What do you think is the correct answer? So I'm talking about somebody who's cool-headed, is a talented and driven anchorman who commands and demands respect. So everything about this person is very fancy and positive. So the entire tone is positive here. After happening to get elected as a new director, he aims to quit his job as a top news anchor to increase his hopes of being elected the next year. Option B. After failing to get elected as a new director, he aims to return to his job as the top news anchor to increase his chances of being elected the next year. After hoping to be elected as new director, he aims to upgrade to his job to the top news anchor to increase the certainty of being. So there cannot be certainty, right? So the clear elimination is option C. I can eliminate because there's no certainty of being elected. The entire purpose of, this thing will dissolve because I cannot increase my certainty of getting elected just by returning to my job. After going to get elected as new director, he aims to give up his job as a top news anchor to increase his luck of being elected the next year. Now, you increase your chances or you increase your luck? What do you think? I will increase my chances of being elected or I will increase my luck of being elected? Yes. So you increase your chances of getting elected. So the correct answer to this question will be option B. Now here, one very important lesson, see, when we are doing a fill in the blank question is, also to look at the collocations. Now, what do we mean by collocation? So collocation is those standard combinations that we use in English, right? For example, I simply ask you a question, you increase your chances or you increase your luck. Correct. So it came very naturally that when we increase our chances, right? So there are so many, sometimes even if we don't know the word, we will still with the, by the mean way of collocation, by combining or looking at the combination of two words, we can see that whether this word should go there or not. Correct. For example, if I'm using the word avid, right? And I have two options. Somebody is an avid reader or somebody is an avid lawyer. What do you think? What is a better combination here? Option A or B? So avid is generally used with the word reader. Now imagine a situation where you have a blank and you have the word reader here. Correct? Now let's say that you don't know the meaning of the word avid. Let's assume. But if you have, read this combination somewhere, you will still be able to mark the answer, right? So if you are getting stuck by, that I don't know the meaning of a particular word, look at the words around it and look whether this combination sounds right or not. Correct? For example, notorious. Can you give me a word we can use notorious for? What should be the right combination of notorious? Notorious thief. Okay. Notorious liar, notorious criminal. Correct. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead. A collective investment fund, also known as collective investment trust, is a group of dash accounts held by a bank or a trust company. The financial institution dash assets from individuals and organizations to dash a single larger diversified portfolio. Yes. So collective investment fund, also known as collective investment trust, is a group of financial accounts, diverse account, different account, pooled account, or financial accounts held by the bank or a trust company. The financial institution discounts assets, collected assets, covered assets, or groups assets. And what do we do to the portfolio? We conceive a portfolio, simulate. See, again, it is a matter of collocation. You conceive a portfolio, you simulate a portfolio, you synthesize a portfolio, or you develop a portfolio. So I don't need to worry about the other two blanks as long as, I'm able to fix the portfolio combination. Yes. So the correct answer to this question is correct. That's option D here. Okay. Now tell me, what is the, let's go ahead and discuss it a bit further. What do you conceive? Do we conceive a report? Or do we conceive an idea? You conceive an idea. All right. You simulate what? What should be the collocation here? Simulate is generally used for what? You simulate
Growth.
senses. Very good. And we simulate our brain as well. Right. Synthesize. We synthesize proteins. Okay. What else? Can I say that the person went to jail because he was synthesizing the books? Can I use it that way? So synthesize is basically, cooking the books and showing the wrong numbers in the books. Can I use it that way? Synthesize the numbers. So that's not a very common usage, but definitely we can say that the person was synthesizing the numbers. Okay. What all words can we use with financial? Combinations with financial that we can think of. Financial instruments, very good, Hitansh. Some more. Financial markets, right? So we have financial markets, we have financial instruments, financial. Do we have financial terms? Do we have financial reports also? Financial institution, very good, Neha. Financial stability, extremely nice. Nice, go ahead. Financial analysis, right? Can I say there's a financial leverage or financial aid? Financial aid. Okay. Okay. Financial fraud. Leverage, Tanush, we have discussed. Can I say financial fraud? The person has been convicted for committing financial fraud. Okay. Let's do one more. How about the word different? Not different. Let's do diverse. Yes. What all can we use the word diverse with? Diverse species, diverse people, diverse culture, diverse people. Do we use diverse people, guys? Do we use the word diverse people? We don't say diverse people. Okay. So we have diverse portfolio, we have diverse cultures. What else? Anything else that you can think of with the word diverse? Diverse landscape, very nice, Aditya. Copy paste from passage, but good. Diverse field of education, diverse mindsets, diverse elements. Okay. Right. So start thinking of it in those terms as well, right? So now you understand what collocation is. Don't worry about the word collocation. So basically what I'm trying to tell you here is just take up the simple combinations, what you can think of. So take one word and think of all the other combinations with it. Correct? Okay. So the correct answer here is option D. Yes. One of the statements below contain a word used incorrectly. Choose the option which has an incorrect or inappropriate usage of word. 30 seconds for you, and then I'll start discussing it. It's very evident. The president of the City Chamber of Commerce is urbane. Kindly, urbane is a synonym of sophisticated. Urbane is a synonym of sophisticated. Kindly and generous man. So it should not be kindly. We need an adjective here, which should be kind. And hence the correct answer is option A. 1 second. So what happened? Oh, sorry. The word, my bad here. We are not looking at the word kindly. It should be, of course, it should also be kind. But the correct answer will be here is option D, because we need to talk about living in urban areas. So urban is the common link here. 1 second. Urban, urban, and urban. So first 3 sentences, urban is sophisticated. But when we, again, this is a question of combination. People are living in sophisticated areas or people are living in urban areas. 70% of the people. So here what we want is urban, which is synonym of city. Therefore, correct answer will be option D. So we have to look at that common word that is being used. Sorry. And in the official paper also it is kindly, hence the print is like that. Okay. Let's go ahead. Let's look at the common word here. Ingenious solutions. Option A. Ingenious cook. Rather ingenious. Ingenious. First of all, what do we mean by the term ingenious? And we also get commonly confused words. So I'm giving you one commonly confused word with it. One is ingenious. And the other word that is, it is often get confused with is ingenuous. What is ingenuous?
Ingenuous is innocent.
Correct. So ingenuous is innocent in a wrong way. That wrong way means that, you're naive and you can be fooled by anyone. Yes. So ingenious is a synonym of you being brilliant or creative or original in your ideas, right? And ingenuous, on the other hand, is of course naive, that, you can be easily fooled. Correct. So if you look at the sentence, so sentence C says, the young man lost all his savings because he was rather ingenious. So if I was rather brilliant, how can I lose all my savings? So actually here the word should be ingenuous, that I was so naive that anybody could fool me and he believed on the agent's promise. So the question is asking where the word is being used incorrectly. Hence option C is where the word has been used incorrectly. Correct. Next question. Let's look at the common word we need to check. Ordinance, 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 and ordinance. Yes. Option, sentence A, after several rounds of meetings, the city council passed an ordinance to limit the number of cafes near the seaside. First of all, what is the meaning of the word ordinance? So ordinance is a rule, basically, a strict order or a rule. That's right. Coming from the authority. Correct. Sentence B says, as per the royal ordinance. So here it was the city council that passed the order. Here the royal order. So it is coming from the king's court. Military aircraft can be used to carry a wide variety of ordnance. Here this usage is incorrect. What we are looking for is the word that is commonly confused with this, which is spelled as ordnance, sorry, which means the equipment
Artillery.
that are used by military. Correct? So this usage is wrong here. The people protested a city ordinance that all parks must be closed by 9 p.m. So correct answer to this question is option C. Okay. Next question. The common ground here being affect. Super easy question again. The sickness of family member can affect you, right? So we all can identify that. Correct answer here is yes, option C. Taking this medicine for a prolonged period can have severe after. What the word we are looking for is effects here and not affect. So this is wrong, this is correct. But can you tell me the difference in affect and affected? What is the difference in affect and affect? Yes, anyone? So-
Affect is for action and effect is for the end result.
Okay. Very good, Krishna. So affect is basically a word and effect is a noun. If you read at it, the sickness of family member can affect. So that means that there's some action happening. Kerala was affected by, again, being used as a verb here. Taking this medicine for a prolonged period can have severe after effects, that is end results, which is a noun. So effect is what we were looking for. We were looking for a noun here. The popular star was not a natural actor. His style was rather affected, which is again verb. Correct. So correct answer here is option C. All right. Let's go to the next question. All right. The sentence given below, when properly sequenced, forms a coherent paragraph. Each sentence is labeled with a number. Decide on the most logical order and center the sequence of numbers in the space provided. Now, before we go ahead with the parajumble question, yes, Kushagra, affect is generally used in a negative context. That's right. Now, in the beginning of the class, somebody told me that there's some issue in the parajumble question. So what I really want to discuss is some of the techniques also now that we are here, before we go ahead with actually attempting the questions. Now, do we know about the name and abbreviation technique? Are we comfortable with the name and abbreviation technique? Can somebody elaborate on it? Okay, Jharna, can you unmute and tell us about this technique? What is this, if you are comfortable with it?
So I'm not really sure, but okay, if we have some abbreviations, then in parajumbles, we can't start like the first sentence in our order cannot be the one with the abbreviation. We have to introduce the main subject first, hence the
Correct.
first sentence should have the name.
Right. Sharna, so that's a partially correct answer. I would just want to make a bit of a correction. What you're saying is absolutely right. But that is when the full name or the full, name of the person or the organization is mentioned. So what she's actually saying is, let's say that I have 4 sentences, right? And option C says, or statement C says word trade center. Right? And one of the statements is WTC, let's say. So in such a scenario, now this is applicable to person also. So let's say that my sentence B is talking about Narendra Modi. And sentence A is talking about or mentioning just Modi, right? So now what I have to do is that I need to make sure that sentence B, which has the full name, is coming before A. Now, I am not saying that B and A will be coming together, that they are mandatory pairs. No, it can be BDCA it can be B, A, C, D, it can be whatever. So it's not that they are mandatorily going to be following each other, right? Or the sentence which has the abbreviation will come right after B. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you have a full name in a sentence, then that full name of a person, of the organization, of anything will definitely come before the abbreviation. Are we clear with this? So keep this in mind as well. So this is one. Second, I am sure, and this is the most used, technique, which is a noun and pronoun link. That I look for a pronoun, I try to find the noun. For example, in this particular sentence also. However, they stand out. So when I look at this question, the first thing that will come to my mind is I'm not going to see the entire sentence or all the sentences. I look for those things through which I can find those connections. Their release. Correct. So now my mind will start to working that, okay, what are they stand out? What is this there used for? So there is a pronoun. Can you find out what is this there being used for? Their release is also limited to a few screens, although they have been films with a wide release. So they're talking about films here, but which films are they talking about? Where is this word films given? And also notice, correct, very good, Krishna. Now please see what is happening here. An indie film refers to the independent films made outside a major studio system. So because it is there, I need to connect it with not the film. I need to connect it with films, which is here and here. So this particular sentence, the C sentence will go either with B or with D. See, which one is it going with? And also notice one more additional information here. Also is also given. So there's a conjunction. So something needs to come before this as well. An indie film refers to independent films made outside a major studio system. Most of such films, now this such is explaining the films that are made outside the major systems, right? Their release is also limited. So what they're saying is they are low budget films distributed by small companies. Also, they are limited to few screens. Contrast, however, they stand out because this is contrasting. Till here, they were talking about made outside major film studio. There are small companies which are making it, also limited to few screens. And now the contrast. However, they stand out because they help the filmmaker realize their personal artistic vision. So, correct answer to this question would be B, D, and C, A. So the three things, or the two things that helped us here, two things that we looked at here is one, the noun pronoun link, films and this, and the conjunction link. So also is present. So something has to come before C. What was that? D has to come before C. And then again, the contrast conjunction. So conjunctions and pronouns are very prominent in this question. So whenever you're looking at a parajumble question, see whether there's a name or a full name given, whether there's a conjunction given to us, not only and but also is given to us, first, second, third, if the sentence is talking about in that way, correct? Let's look at this question. Now, don't attempt this question. Don't give me the answer. Look for the pronouns. Are there any pronouns that we can use? Take a read. Are there any pronouns that can help us to get to the answer?
There and this.
Okay. This is particularly important in Indian culture. This is particularly important. Please tell me what is this? Which sentence contains the information that we can connect to explain or justify the sentence, this word present, this in option B?
C.
There is always more to human health
A.
than I. Okay, somebody's saying C, somebody's saying A. Let's see. All right. Mental illness continues to struggle for recognition as a significant contributor to poor health in spite of existence of the Mental Health Care Act 2017. Okay. All right. This is particularly important in Indian culture and political context. And C is saying there's always more to human health than meets the eye. So C is more generic in nature because Now again, the common thread here. This act is for which country? Because this cannot be, global act. This is for which country are we talking about? Or is it a universal act? What do you think?
An universal act.
Okay. The data reveals that an estimate 1 in 7 Indians. So Indians, C is talking about it in a general way. There is always more to human health. They're not saying there's always more to Indian health. There's always more to human health. So I have 2 sentences talking about Indian people or Indian culture, while one sentence which is very general. And mental illness continues to struggle for recognition as a significant contributor to poor health in spite of the existence of Mental Health Care Act, right? Now let's correct. Mental Health Care Act is of India. So again, because they're talking about it, right? So here the correct answer will be, I start with something which is general. Meets the eye is also very important link here. Why? Because they're saying this is particularly important. So this is what? More to human health than meets the eye. This is particularly important in Indian cultural and political context, where the outward appearance of physical well-being is often considered the only visible marker of overall health. Meets the eye, something that is appearing to me is the visible mark of overall health. Mental illness continues to struggle for recognition as a significant contributor according to this act. The data reveals that an estimated 1 in 7 Indians. So even though they have not written the word Indian here, but they have India and India here, I should be able to look at it and just, make a calculated guess that this is also about India. So A, B, and D are in Indian reference. C is a generic sentence, so that has to come before because it becomes a right opening. Right? Let's look at the next question. Yes. Last question. What are the hints that we have? What are the keywords that I should look for and then start my parajumble from? It is used in A and C. Okay. It is used this. Correct. This is what emerged at a recent conference attended by the largest scientific community on climate science. Okay. This is what emerged. All right. C should be the start. It appears that the planet's ability to adapt and cope with how it is being treated is fraying. Fraying is that it is getting weaker. This is what emerged at the conference. So the people attending the conference realized that the ability of our planet is getting weaker. It is fraying. Okay. Then the paper presented indicated. Now again, the paper, where will the paper be presented? Of course, at the conference it will be attended. So I now know that B will come after E, not right after it maybe, but somewhere after B, that after E is where B should come. Immediately after E or not, that we still have to decide. For example, the acceleration of sea level rise in ocean warming and increasing risk of reaching limits to adaptation. Okay. A, it was felt that the major polluters had a more obligation to deliver on the agreements reached some year ago during a similar convention on climate change. Right. Now try to make a guess. What should be the correct answer? So this, for example, so we are starting with C. Let's look at the correct answer. We are starting with C. We are going to E. Right after E, you are going with B because there's a conference, so the paper is being presented. That the impact of current warnings are much more severe than previously understood. How do I know that the warnings are much more severe? For example, acceleration of sea level rise in oceanic warnings and increasing risk of reaching limits to adaptation. It was felt that the major polluters had a moral obligation to deliver on the agreements. Right. Okay. So guys, this is our solving of paper of 2020.
Wouldn't it be C, D, E, B, A, because C and D are a pair and E complements the C and D.
C
And
and-
when it talks about
C and D are
the
being-
conference.
One second. You are saying C and D are the pair.
Yes, C and
Yes,
D.
ma'am. D follows C and E follows D.
No, beta, it appears that the planet's ability to adapt to coping with how it is being treated is framed, right? Now, this example is being given, which is related to B, because what is B saying? Current warnings are much more severe than previously understood. How do I define that the current warnings are much more severe? How do I explain it? So that example is this, that for example, the acceleration of sea level rise and ocean warnings are increasing the risk of reaching limits to adaptation. No? Because the warnings, how are the warnings becoming severe? How are they explaining it? That is to be D, right?
Ma'am, but B talks about the papers presented in the papers that were presented, and E tells us about the conference in which the papers were presented.
Yes,
So
I thought
B
the same.
B should follow E.
You're saying B should follow E.
Yes, ma'am. But E should follow D.
Come again. B should follow D, is what you're saying.
No, ma'am. I'm saying B should follow E.
B should follow E. Is
Yes,
that what
ma'am.
you're saying? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. No, the other way around. The other way around. B should follow E.
B should follow E.
Ma'am, one second.
One
I'll
second,
type.
one second. Actually, there's some, some work going on in the flat above mine, so therefore I'm not able to hear clearly. One second. Yeah, could you just type it for me?
Ma'am, I am saying C, D, E, B, A because C and D are a pair. And in E, the conference attended by the largest specific community, and in that the papers were presented. So that's what I thought.
It appears that the planet, see, when they're saying it appears that the planet's ability to adapt to and cope how it is being treated is strained. Now, okay, then how will I connect this? How should I justify this E? Do we have a disagreement on C and E part?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how? What do you want after C? What should follow C?
D.
D.
For example, the acceleration, okay. Risk of reaching the limits to adaptation, okay.
Then E.
And then E. So you're saying it should be C, D, and E.
EBA.
C, D, E, B, A.
C, D, E, B, A. Okay. Now let's read D and E in connection. For example, the acceleration of sea level rise in ocean warning and increasing risk of reaching limits to adaptation. This is what emerged at the recent conference attended by the largest. So now if I connect D and E according to you, so then this particular will be limited to sea level is rising and there's an oceanic warning and increasing of.
No, but ma'am, still E can be related to the generic statement in C, right? Because so C is a generic statement
Correct.
followed by D, which is an example.
That's where I'm
And
coming
again, you're
to, for
connecting E
example.
with
Right.
C.
That's where I'm coming to. So for example, if I connect D and E, the problem will be that this will be related to then only about sea level rise, ocean warnings, and reaching the limits of adaptation. Now you tell me that if there's a conference and the largest scientific community is there in that conference, are they worried about just these three problems or they are worried about this bigger problem?
Ma'am, but D is given as well, it is written for example, it is not the entire topic. For example, E will follow C, that is for sure, but it should not immediately follow C because D tells us about C first, and E can be connected to C, but not directly.
No, beta, B and D will be connected. No, because they are saying that the papers presented the impacts of current warnings are much more severe than previously understood. Impacts of current warnings. Where are those warnings? So the warnings are here. Acceleration of sea level rise. Therefore, B and D are connected. And this will explain a bigger problem, that is the entire capacity of the planet is playing overall. So it's not just about oceanic warming, it's not just about sea level. That's why. Because when a scientific community is meeting, then their bigger problem or what is emerging overall is this and not D. Right? Okay. Now, before we wrap up the class, I want to discuss the areas that we need to cover. Yes,
Ma'am, in that question, can you go back once?
sure.
Ma'am, so the reason I'm saying C and D are a link because we are talking about planet and how it is being treated, and then the example is given about how it is treated. And because of that, we are having a conference, and in that we are talking about the papers, and the last statement is A.
Yeah, but why? See, why will I use this word immersed? If I've already given the example, how will a thing emerge? Then it becomes evident, right or no?
Right.
So we need to check the word emerge also, no? So we were
Yes.
discussing something came up, it emerged naturally. The papers were then presented and we saw that it is more severe. How is it more severe? The example, it was felt that the major polluters had a moral obligation to deliver on the agreements reached some year ago during a similar convention on climatic change. So that means that we were talking about these problems earlier also. And the problems are more severe. For example, this is the severity. So now we are focusing and we are telling the countries or the people who are major polluters to work on it, right?
Yes.
All right. So guys, these are the topics which I want you guys to cover in the upcoming days. And these are the materials that you already have. You have your past year papers. As I already mentioned in the beginning of the class, make sure that you're solving the previous year papers, you're solving the mock test. You have a vocabulary builder book. So if somebody has major problem in vocabulary, go ahead and solve the questions from vocabulary book, right? And if there's some problem in a particular concept, you can always visit my MS section, go to the learn section and watch the videos, right? Is there any other doubt I can help you with? So I hope you enjoyed the session, plus there was some clarity on question types. So it'll be very easy. Yes, Ekansh, please tell me. And also somebody requested for a critical reasoning revision. I'll take it up with the team, right?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
I actually joined a little bit late, so
Right.
I had a doubt regarding the number of questions. Like, for example, in 2020 and 21, there
Right.
were 20 questions,
Correct.
and then in last year there were 40, right?
So see, the number of questions, they keep changing. So don't worry about it. Right. So if you look at the previous year paper patterns, take the range. So the questions have been varying from 30 to 45. So for example, last year, the number of questions were 45, right?
Mhm.
So what you can do is assume that, this year also it will be 45, but it keeps on varying. I understand the time limit is for sure being 40.
So now, like, English is 45, and for maths it will be.
Maths, it is 15 is, so according to previous year paper pattern, it was 15 questions, which was short answer questions, which never had the negative marking. And when it comes to your quantitative aptitude, like the MCQ questions, then they were about 30 questions there,
Okay.
right?
About, I guess, 2 hours must have been given for these 3 sections.
Sorry,
2 hours were there, right?
correct. Yes. So 40, 40, 40 for each section.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Yes, so the next class is on, so your quant is tomorrow, and we are meeting next on 6th of June. So we'll see some more questions, and if I'll be able to spare some time, I'll definitely take up CR in that particular, session as well. Okay, guys, so that is all for today. Have a good evening of whatever is left of it. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Sorry, will there be MCQ or the Ekansh, it will be Theta type questions. Jayaditya, I'll suggest that look at the, at least last 5 years paper pattern to get more clarity, because the topics are same, but what they do is sometimes they ask you parajumbles, they will not ask you idioms. Sometimes they're going to ask you synonyms. Tita is type in the answer, Ekansh. So you will have to type the answers like we did in the last 3 questions. The options were not given. So you are deciding what is the correct answer. So you will have a, on the screen, you will get a blank area, and using the keyboard, you'll have to type the correct order of the parajumble.
Bye, ma'am. Have a nice evening.
Bye, beta. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye. No, Ekansh, there's no negative in there. No negative mark in Tita questions. Yes.
Ma'am, there is negative marking in the Tita questions of verbal section.
Is this Ekansh?
Ma'am, I know from a very reliable source, it is there is negative marking.
So, your short answer questions that you haven't won, there's no negative marking. Tita questions, there's
Verbal ability, there is negative marking in all
there's
questions.
negative marking, yes. Verbal ability, there's negative marking. All right, guys, bye-bye.